she goes through this exercise where she selects a word at the beginning of a year and then kind of lives her life through that word for the year. And she was telling me this whole story, and I thought it was just fascinating. And again, opens my mind and gives me perspective that I can use in my work and in my life. And so when I talked to the committee later, and they were considering all their things, we kind of talked about this and how this might be a really great way to kind of start the day and theme our time together. So it's my honor to introduce Sarah, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about that experience.
Well, good morning. I've been asked to talk about living life with purpose, and I can't think of a more exciting thing to talk about. There's a picture up here on the screen. I'd love to just jump right in. On Thanksgiving, I had a friend that got up from the table after we had all finished eating. All the adults were still sitting at the table, and my friend got up, started playing the old game we used to play as kids, Ring Around the Rosie. You know how it goes, Ring Around the Rosie, pot full of posies, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. Well, my friend just kept falling down over and over, and she was playing with these kids, but she didn't know that just 6 months prior, they were with us for Easter as well. Their family was there, their mom, their dad. They had a great time. I sent their dad home with extra corn pie because he loved it so much. Well, time went on, and choices happened, and the bad choices ended their dad in prison. My friend didn't know their story. They didn't know her story, which is an amazing story as well. But she saw that these kids just needed to play that day. It didn't matter that the other adults were sitting around the table. She knew they needed hugs. She knew they needed to play. Because you know what? Ashes to ashes, we all fall down, don't we? It's fun to think about living, isn't it? It's fun to think about the way we choose to live. I've determined there's two ways to live. There's the average way. And the average way is what most of us do. We get up, we do the same thing, it's kind of monotonous, we do what's expected of us. But no one really goes into life wanting to live mediocre, do we? We don't want a mediocre marriage, we don't want a mediocre job that just pays the bills. We want to live more than that. But there's something that creeps in the mediocre life, and that word is someday. Someday I'm going to be physically fit. Someday I'm going to be financially fit. Someday I'm going to live a life that's going to be pretty cool. But you know what? Someday we procrastinate, don't we? We put it off. And I'm determined that there's another way to live, and another path to travel, and that's the awesome path. There's a way we can live that's a little bit different than the average way, a little bit more intentional, a little bit more dangerously fun, you guys. Awesome. There's a thing that we kind of throw around a lot is it's finding our purpose. And I'm not really convinced that there is one thing in life that we are just designed to do. I think there's a way to live with purpose. And I know you guys have looked at this picture that just got up here. We're going to dive into this table and what's in my backyard in a different way that I've chosen to kind of approach life. So let's dive in. There's three things that I've learned about living with purpose. The first one is start where you are. I want to take you guys back to 2011. I just moved to Dallas to work in our field office with ALSAC. It was the height of my event planning career. I was overseeing 11 galas that fiscal year. 11 galas, y'all? It was a lot. That same year, we had hosted Legends for Charity. It was our Super Bowl event in Dallas. This was the height of our marketing push, making sure we were really branded well. We were honored the whole NFL on Fox team, all 9 broadcasters. There was a lot of attention from NEL. If you've worked in the field, you know usually we can kind of stick to ourselves and we can plan our galas and do our thing. I felt a lot of pressure. And I decided at the beginning of 2011, just a month before this event, that I wanted to do this event and this season of my life different. I wanted to not just perform at work well. stress? How was I interacting with someone that I worked with outside the organization on this event that they worked a little bit different than me? I focused more on being good. And it was funny that I was focusing on this in the height of the stress of my work. The event was a success. It was a record-breaking year that year, and that was something I was proud of. But what I walked away most proud of was the way that I dealt with people in the middle of that stressful situation. That night, we had a great event. The way it was, the very next morning, 8 hours later, we had an NFL Lives breakfast. We had to do it all over again and be on, and it was amazing. The second thing I learned, start on what matters to you. That March of 2011, I took a personality test, and I determined that I had a gift for gathering people. And I scratched my head, like, how do you gather people? Like, how can I do that? How can I use my gift to kind of lean into gathering people? So I picked a word in 2012, community. I asked my dad to build a table for my backyard because I had such a small house. Dad built an 18-foot table for my backyard, and I said, that's it. I want to gather people around the table. I thought back to the best year of my life when it was during grad school. I had a cafe out of my house, and it was so much fun that I was like, I want to do more of that. So Dad built the table. I set a goal to serve 500 people around that table, one dinner party after another in 2012. Crazy number, halfway through, I wasn't sure if I could do it, but I did. One dinner party after another. Before I started, I only knew 2 neighbors by name. 2. At the end of 2012, I could name 50 neighbors by name. Executives sat next to 8th graders, Pilates instructors were next to priests. It was the most beautiful, diverse table you've ever seen. Someone asked me a couple weeks ago, they said, Sarah, what do you like to do besides this? And I was like, this? Like, nothing makes me more happy. Because I was in my sweet spot. It was like my secret sauce of how to love people. So the year went on, and we made just incredible memories together. We served 7 turkeys the week of Thanksgiving. 7. That's a lot. We've grilled pizza. We've had spaghetti. Friends have brought dessert. We've played bingo. We've had game night. One of those Thanksgiving parties, my dad was dressed up like a pilgrim. Y'all, look at those socks, those pants tucked into the socks. My whole family got involved. It was so fun. We had a summer concert with an American Idol star. We had bingo nights. We had an author come and share about community around the table. And on Easter I was talking about those kids being there, we had 29 people sit down with their plates loaded and the sky unleashed on us. We're outside, so we dove under the cardboard and everyone made a memory that day. So we did it, 500. My guest had a crown and a necklace that said 500. She wore it the entire day. We did it in 27 parties, averaging about 19 guests a party, about 3 times a month. Remember, I had no work-life balance the year before, and here I was being intentional with my time. I was getting fulfilled outside of work to become even a stronger employee because I was so happy outside of work that I was thrilled to be at work as well. It was because I was intentional. That brings me to number 3, start today. Had I not started, I would not feel the joy that I have today, and I'm still doing it, you guys. My question to you this morning is, what gives you the most joy? What is the thing that lights you up from the inside? What is that thing that everyone else around you goes, oh, that's her thing. Like, she needs to do this all the time. What is that thing in your life? You know, I got a photo this month from someone up in Seattle that said, Sarah, I've got a backyard table too. You've inspired me to do this. I've got a photo from a friend in Austin that says, Sarah, my husband and I are doing this backyard table thing too. We think you're onto something. I have a couple in Dallas that's put 5 card tables together in their backyard. They're trying question mark, like, I wasn't intentional, I don't know how I got here. But then there's so much joy behind that statement with an exclamation point. How did I get here? I'm kind of wondering why I'm up here, but if you choose to be intentional, there's going to be a life of exclamation points. When we live with purpose, you guys, we have opportunities. We have opportunities at work. We can get up, be purposeful with our coworkers. Maybe we start each day with a handwritten note to someone, a donor, a coworker, something. We can play with our kids with purpose. We can get on the floor with them. We can even say a goal like, I want to play catch with my son 50 times this year in the yard. There's a way to be purposeful with our spouse and with our friends, encouraging them intentionally, spending time with them intentionally. There's so many ways to be purposeful. We can even vacation with purpose. We can turn off our Blackberries, our iPhones, walk away for more than 12 seconds, and I promise the world doesn't end. We can be purposeful even in our rest. Whatever you're going to do, let's do it with purpose. I know what an extraordinary room this is of extraordinary people living really awesome lives. What if we all just had full-on boosters of the way that we're living and really lived with a purpose in mind? Even if it's one thing, one word. And what if we share that with our friends? People are getting behind my word, and it's something that just started a few years ago. People want to have parties to celebrate my announcement of my word, you guys. I mean, go get your own word. Like, I'm just being responsible this year. In closing, you guys, let's do it. Let's live awesome. If I had not lived the way that I did, I would have missed the honeymooners at my table. I would have missed the conversations when my friend showed up with the news that her husband wanted a divorce earlier that week. She said, Sarah, I want to be nowhere else than at your table. I would have missed the conversations about faith and family and friends and the nitty-gritty of life. I would have missed a lot. So here's a reminder to us all. Number one, start where you are. Start on what matters. And start today. What is your purpose?
Sarah, oh my gosh, that was so beautiful. I've been to Sarah's house, I've seen that table, and she is so inspiring. I thought your words today were perfect for our group. Thank you so much. You know, I borrowed